Hello. Hey, this is Mike Rasmussen. Now, I felt like it was important I finally put this kind of video out there because I think this will probably be the one video that's a little personal. There's a lot of components that are difficult to explain or put into words, I'm just so in awe of how this year has gone that it's just so it's just overwhelming is the word I'd use. So the reason that is the way the year has unfolded, and in many respects, it's been a year of firsts as well as a year of incredible opportunity, and my life was literally saved. That's a whole nother thing. That's an interesting piece of the puzzle. Saved twice. Let me explain. So I had in my career had several amazing events. It's actually another piece of this puzzle that makes this a very unique time, is it's been 5 whole years, since I left ADP, and all the events that have happened since then. The lessons learned in those 5 years, I think the biggest lesson of all was that I'm more confident, I'm more capable. This is an interesting thing to realize, that taking a risk in your career. You were at a place where you're about to get promoted, and you'd been there 9 years, but then all of a sudden you get that call, and you decide to take a role, and you decide to take a risk, and the risk is that you're leaving a place that you know for one that you don't, and that led to several events where ambiguity, change, growth, understanding things about talent acquisition that I would never understand unless I'd made that move, happened. And the lessons that have come from it have also been incredible. So as the year began, it was January 28th, 2026. Contracted ended at AARP. I went to bed that night knowing that I was going to potentially see my boss when it came, if we could hook up here in Utah. And I really admired the guy. And, I'd been leading the sourcing function for AARP for 18 months. I had done things I'd never done before. I had discovered new leadership capability within myself that was unique. Yeah, let me continue. So that night, 28th, I went to bed. I'd been pondering, I'd kind of wrote down on a piece of paper several things about where things were going and what was happening and how, it was going to change this year. Little did I know, was I right? When that happened, there was a scenario where, I went to bed probably about midnight. And again, I've been pondering and writing this stuff down. Fell asleep. I then sleepwalked. I remember this part because I was in kind of a dreamlike state. I remember just when you're in that level of sleep, you're in an REM sleep, which is very deep, and that's when you can sleepwalk. And so that's exactly what happened. I was sleepwalking. I happened to walk down the hall, and at some point I fell down the stairs. And if you look at the way our room is set up, you walk down the hall, you turn a corner, there's the stairs. And I fell down the stairs, and I don't remember much after that. Until I came to in the hospital. But fell down the stairs, put, a foot, head-sized hole into the drywall of our stair landing at the bottom of the stairs, barely missing by 2 inches on the left-hand side a 2x4, which could have killed me. Right-hand side, there's a big beam, and that was about 3 inches. So I happened to hit it dead center, perfect spot, putting this head-sized hole in the drywall. You look at the back of the wall, and I managed to break the other side. So it was hollow, went through, and my head was embedded in the hole, and had a brain bleed. So right over here, this part of my, head was hit, forehead, over here, fracture, skull fracture on this side above this ear. And then my wife heard it. It was about 2 a.m. She called my name, and that's when the adventure began. So it took her, she called my name a couple times. I got up, walked up the stairs, and as she tells the story, I was, I went and laid on the bed, and I was having a conversation with her. She was, I was kind of I was just, my eyes were awake, I was looking at her, all this stuff. Now, before that happened, it took me a little bit of time to wiggle out because, my head was embedded, and I wiggled out, went up the stairs on my own power, and sat on, laid on the bed. She then talked to me, and I kept talking about how, I got to go to an interview on Friday. Got to go to this interview on Friday. And I kept talking about that, right? So my brain is like that. It's hyper focused on gotta get the job. So the other part of this, it's so insane. So paramedics came. I kept having a conversation with her. I need to go for the interview. I need to be available. She's all, no, I need to go. The paramedics are going to come. So she called the paramedics. They came. I had 4 seizures. Sorry if the camera slipped there. Had 4 seizures in the ambulance. We stopped by Mountain West Medical Center, which is north side of Tooele. The emergency room there decided that it was better if they took me to the neurology department of the U of U, because that's their specialty. So they took me there, got CAT scans. Later on the CAT scans, they'd actually find on the left kidney, down here, right there, kidney's about that size, they'd find a little, about yay big, about 1.4 centimeters. They'd find this, little lesion, is what they call it. Turned out to be kidney cancer. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, I was in the hospital for 8 days. I recovered fairly quickly. All of that happened fast. It was essentially a concussion. Yep. So then you can't drive for 3 months. That's a fun part. Let's talk about that too. Couldn't drive for 3 months, and just all this crazy stuff. So I get out of the hospital. While I'm still in the hospital, I negotiate. So my wife emailed the people I was supposed to have the interview with on that Friday, which is, again, Sterling Infrastructure, where I am now. They did the interview. Now, I had prepped a presentation, on Talent Insights, and, just showing them how you do the talent advisor model and, express the data, you put it all together. Little did I know that would lead to another whole interesting series of events. We'll talk about that. Anyway, the interview was rescheduled. I went to do the interview, and all this time I'm going through this recovery process. I have to go see doctors and go to therapy, but the therapy people cleared me. The speech and language person was like, "You're good. You've got everything," but you have to do this because that part of the brain is a essential part of communication and speech. So, yes, needed for recruiting, right? Anyway, totally recovered from that. Meanwhile, I go to interview. I present this presentation. It lands with the VP of HR, who really likes it. They hire me in a 6-month contract. The window of that is coming up in September. But I'm on track to go perm. So the way things are looking, it looks very positive. Now, what are the other pieces of this puzzle? I have to go get surgery. Go to the urology department. All this head stuff's going on. They look at my eyes, and the optometry people, they clear me, and different doctors and different people clear me. But then the kidney cancer, we see this little incision. They do have to go to the CAT scans a couple of times. They finally see what it is, and they couldn't determine if it was actually kidney cancer or not. Well, I have to go for the surgery exactly 3 months. 3 months. The day that I could actually drive was the same day that I did the surgery for the kidney cancer. So I got to drive for 1 day, then go in for kidney cancer. I had laparoscopic surgery. The little incision took off the one, part of the kidney. It's about that yay big, about your fist, about, this little tiny little part, cut it off. And turns out it was kidney cancer, stage 1. So what does that exactly mean, you guys? Here's what it means. If I had not had that crazy head thing, I would not have had the kidney surgery to discover the incision, or the place where the incision was needed to get rid of the stage 1 kidney cancer. And the biopsy later did reveal that it was that. So, interesting. Anyway, now on the story of my career, here's what happened. So I go and interview, and again, I'm recovering while starting a new job. Okay, get this. So I start this new job with Sterling Infrastructure. It's a civil construction company. I basically start making these PowerPoint decks so that their recruiters can use those to reset expectations. So I spent the first 3 months of my contract building 50 to 60 decks. Now, also doing some presentations and resetting expectations and helping with talent insights and doing some research on Juicebox, and actually they adopted it because they liked what I recommended. And then there are a few other things that I wound up doing that were actually kind of cool projects. So talent ops became a thing for me. So, once they hired me into this contract role, they eventually had me start sourcing. So I filled, several jobs already. That was part of the fun. So I'm doing talent insights plus filling roles and doing the execution stuff in recruiting that I am so used to doing. Now, this whole series of events has been pretty much the journey since the start of the year. Now, this is how everything has gone. And 3 life events happened all in a row. All these things just blow me away. So what is the number one lesson out of this? It is, I believe, that when you are focused on doing the right thing and you have a positive mindset and you're trying to do things to help people, and that is your focus, eventually, the doors open the way they should. It's how life works. I've been inspired by this whole year and just how everything's gone. So it has been a truly remarkable year, and I will say I've been blessed, and I see life in a different way. So I guess the takeaway is, live life to the fullest. Do it for the right reasons. It's really up to you to live in that way. And that's what it's all about. So from me to you, thank you for listening. That's the story. That's how it went. It's been a truly remarkable series of events. I see life in a way different way than I used to. And amazing blessings, amazing things, right? Pretty incredible. So that's where we're at. Anyway, Mike out. we'll see you soon. Back on my socials, but pretty incredible. Been an amazing story. Been an amazing year. Make out. See you soon. Bye.